He lives alone, on the fourth floor of an old brick building with no view of the sky. When he looks out his window, all he can see is her window, across the alley, an arm's length away, where she lives alone on the fourth floor of her own old building. They don't know each other's names. They have never spoken. It is winter in Chicago. Barely any light enters the narrow alley between them, and barely any rain either, or snow or sleet or fog, or that crackling wet January stuff the locals call wintry mix. The alley is dark and still, and without weather. It seems to have no atmosphere at all, a hollow stitched into the city for the singular purpose of separating things from things, like outer space. She first appeared to him on Christmas Eve. He'd gone to bed early that night feeling horribly sorry for himself. The only soul in his whole raucous building with nowhere else to be, when a light snapped on across the alley, and a small, warm glow replaced his window's usual yawning dark. He sat up, walked to the window, peeked out. There she was, a flurry of movement, arranging, unpacking, pulling small, vibrant dresses from large matching suitcases. Her window was so close to him, and she was so close to him, their apartments separated by the distance of a single ambitious jump, that he scooted back a few feet to more fully submerge himself in his darkness. He sat there on his heels and stared for a short while, until the staring felt improper and indecent, and he contritely returned to bed. But he has, in the weeks since, come back to the theater of this window, and more often than he'd like to admit. He sometimes sits here, hidden, and for a few minutes at a time, he watches. To say that he finds her beautiful is too simple. Of course he finds her beautiful, objectively, classically, obviously beautiful. Even just the way she walks, with a kind of buoyancy, a cheerful, jaunty bounce, has him thoroughly charmed. She glides across the floor of her apartment in thick socks, occasionally doing an impromptu twirl, the skirt of her dress billowing briefly around her. In this drab and filthy place, she prefers dresses, bright flowered sundresses incongruous amid the grit of this neighborhood, the cold of this winter. She tucks her legs under them as she sits in her plush velvet armchair, a few candles glowing nearby, her face impassive and cool, holding a book in one hand, the other hand idly tracing the lip of a wineglass. He watches her touch that glass and wonders how a little fingertip can inspire such a large torment. Her apartment is decorated with postcards from places he assumes she's been: Paris, Venice, Barcelona, Rome, and framed posters of art he assumes she's seen in person: the Statue of David, the Pietà, the Last Supper, Guernica. Her tastes are manifold and intimidating. Meanwhile, he's never even seen an ocean. She reads inordinately, at all hours, flicking on her yellow bedside lamp at 2 o'clock in the morning to page through large and unwieldy textbooks, biology, neurology, psychology, microeconomics, or various stage plays or collections of poetry, or thick histories of wars and empires, or scientific journals with inscrutable names and bland gray bindings. She listens to music he assumes as classical for the way her head sways to it. He strains to identify book jackets and album covers, then rushes to the public library the next day to read all the authors that rouse and unsleep her, and listen to all the symphonies she seems to have on repeat: the Hafner, the Eroica, the New World, the Unfinished, the Fantastique. He imagines that if they ever actually speak, he will drop some morsel of Symphonie Fantastique knowledge, and she will be impressed with him and fall in love. If they ever actually speak. She's exactly the kind of person, cultured, worldly, that he came to this frighteningly big city to find. The obvious flaw in the plan, he realizes now, is that a woman so cultured and worldly would never be interested in a guy as uncultured, as provincial, as backward and coarse as him.